What a rush!
You are now listening to The Couch on 24/7 Miami with your hosts, Chubby Dubby, Clem December,
Big Clem. December, it's Clem time.
and your boy Coleman.
Coleman, I had the most absurd nightmare. I was poor and no one liked me.
Let's go.
We'll do it live. We'll do it live. Okay.
Welcome back to The Couch, ladies and gentlemen, coming to you live from the Connecticut School of Broadcasting Studios. It is The Couch. I'm here with one of my main mans, Matt Lawson.
Yo.
We will be without the services of our other main man, Dubby,
Dubby.
Manny G.
He's heading to the home opener for the Marlins.
That is correct. He will be reporting live to his own brain.
Right.
From Marlins Park for the home opener. We're going to get into some things today. We're going to discuss some things that happened over the weekend, particularly with some airline companies. We're going to get into that a little bit. We're going to get into some various things around the sports world. But first, we're going to hop right into the most important, most trying, most pertinent subject, if you will, as it comes to South Florida sports and, you know, the next couple of days, at least the next 48 hours, the Miami Heat.
El Heat.
So the NBA season, the regular season anyways, is coming to a close. There we go. There's my favorite music that I've never heard before. The regular season is coming to a close. And as the regular season comes to a close, the playoff scenarios are sort of working themselves out as they do.
Right. Per the usual, 7-8 of every year usually comes down to the last game of the season.
Right.
It's nice to see that more than likely every team will be above 500 in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I hate when a team under 500 gets into the 8 seed.
Well, I don't think so. No team from the 8 seed and up will be under 500, but they can be 500.
Right, 500. Yeah.
Right,
the Heat
right.
might be 500.
Correct.
If the Heat get in, they're going to be 500.
If the Heat make it in, they were sitting at 11-30 for the first half of those 41 games.
Right, 30. That's for if you're not doing the math at home, that's 30-11.
Correct.
On the back nine.
Right.
So,
which if you were to extrapolate that over an entire season, that's 60-22.
Right.
I mean, we're talking like
that's a 1 seed in the East right now.
That absolutely.
The Celtics only have 59 wins.
Correct. And
I was listening to some things on the radio. Some stat guys were saying that the overall net, the per 100 possessions, these crazy stats or whatever, since January 16th, when the Heat were 11-30, they are the third best team in the league behind the Warriors and the Spurs. And by comparison, this rating had the Warriors at like 12 point something.
Mm-hmm.
The Spurs were at like 6.5 and the Heat were at 6.4.
Right.
And then teams like the Hawks and the Wizards and the Bulls, all teams above the Heat in the playoffs right now, are like middle of the pack, like 10-20.
Right.
And the Heat are number 3. And across the whole season, the Heat are number 10 in that stat. So the 11-30, how it was very bad.
Right.
It was a lot of close games to good teams is how the Heat's season started. So the 11-30 was maybe a little misleading. It was, the team wasn't that bad.
Right. And so there's no way to really, especially if you're watching just the scoreboard and you're looking at just the record, there's no way to really be able to tell that the Heat would be able to do something like this, especially when you're looking at the beginning of the season. You've got the Chris Bosh thing happening right away. Dwayne Wade's gone. Everybody's thinking like this is a young team, but, I mean, how are we going to go? How are we potentially going to make the playoffs this year with this sort of squad? Then you have things happen along the way, like we've got Justice Winslow going down, Dion Waiters going down at times. We missed Tyler Johnson for an extended period of time, Josh Richardson for an extended period of time. There was a certain point where I think
we can't get McBob on the floor.
Oh, I mean, that's a travesty.
That's a whole other thing. But yeah, so it wasn't looking good. And boy, what a turnaround. Historic turnaround. No team has ever gotten to 500 from being 19 games under.
Right.
So it's still history, even if the Heat don't make the playoffs. It's still a heck of a run. And, I mean, it just makes win or lose tomorrow night, it makes going into next year just seem a lot more hopeful.
I agree.
Now, I know we're probably not going to be able to keep a few of them, but not all of them, of Dion Waiters, James Johnson. Those kind of guys have played into big contracts this year.
Right.
Especially Dion Waiters. Some team is going to give him close to a max because he looks like he could potentially be your number one scorer.
Right.
And so, yeah, and James, we won't be able to keep all those guys, but, I mean, it just reiterates, this year really made you realize that the Heat culture is the best. I mean, what they do in San Antonio is crazy, but the Heat culture is top 3 organizations in the NBA. Spo's a great coach. Riley picks the right guys. This year, James Johnson, what an addition. That guy has been great this year.
Yeah.
And he's Heat basketball. He's hustle, rebounds, defense. Magruder plays that way. So
almost positionless, almost like a power point forward.
So this year, if anything for me, it made me look at the Heat organization and be like, this team is always going to be in the right direction.
And look at what Coach Spo has done. I mean, there was one point during this season where there were 8 guys from the D-League on not necessarily the active roster, like all of them weren't getting on the floor, but I mean, you talk about there's only 15 spots. More than half of them were people who had been in the developmental league.
Right.
That's crazy.
Right. And from those guys, I mean, Tyler Johnson's one of them from not very long ago, 2-3 years ago. He was in the D League. Magruder was just down there. Akara White.
Right.
Now his minutes have dwindled towards the end of the season, but the 13-game win streak started when we brought him up.
Right.
So they were getting a lot of they're getting these guys aren't just sitting at the end of the bench.
Right.
You know
Whiteside was there, like you said. Magruder was there. Tyler Johnson, James Johnson was in the D League. This is major players doing key contributions on hopefully a playoff team. And speaking of the playoffs,
Coach of the year.
Right.
Okay, yeah. So what I want to know from you is all the scenarios, Heat win, Pacers win, Bulls lose. What does that mean? I know if the Heat lose, they're out. It doesn't matter what happens. If the Heat lose, they're out.
Right.
And then, so please.
Okay, so there's only 3 scenarios left for the Heat to be able to make the playoffs. All of them obviously involve them winning. The first one is if the Pacers and the Bulls both lose their final game tomorrow night, we will be the number 7 seed.
And then which one would make it in?
If the Pacers lose and the Bulls lose, the Pacers would make it in.
Right. Okay. So they have a game on both of us right now.
Correct.
Right.
So
if we tie, we have the tiebreaker on the Pacers.
We have the tiebreaker on the Pacers. We do not have the tiebreaker on the Bulls.
Right.
So the second scenario that we make it in is Miami wins, of course. The Pacers win, but the Bulls lose. In that case, we would be the 8th seed. The Bulls would be left out by virtue of the tiebreaker.
Right.
Then the third scenario is we win, the Bulls win, and the Pacers lose. We would be the 8th seed. The Bulls would beat us in the tiebreaker, and we would beat the Pacers in the tiebreaker, leaving the Pacers out. Bulls 7th seed, the Heat, the 8th seed.
Okay.
So those are the only 3 scenarios. Now, for all of that, the first and most important thing is the Heat have to win their game. If the Heat don't win tomorrow night versus the Wizards, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter what the rest of the scenarios happen.
Right. Okay. So moving forward from that, so tomorrow night you have Pacers at home against the Hawks,
Correct.
and you have the Bulls at home against the Nets.
Correct.
So it's looking like, I mean, Chicago is not going to lose to the Nets.
Well, see, here's the thing. Okay, so the Nets are actually one of the hottest teams in the NBA over the last 10 games. I believe over the last 7 games, I think they're 4-3, which is not that great.
Smoking hot.
But when you consider that, they won 11 games in the whole entirety of the first half of the season,
right?
Well,
so did the Heat.
Correct. But so here's the thing about the Nets scenario. So the Nets don't own their draft picks, so it doesn't pay for them to shut anybody down and try to do worse than they already are seated at, because they're not getting that lottery ball. It doesn't matter.
Right.
They actually beat the Bulls this past Saturday night, which is not something that everybody saw happening, but it is something that happened. And now we have Rajon Rondo is going to be out for that game. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing depends on who you ask. They have a pretty decent backup in Jerry and Grant. They've still got Jimmy Butler, but they're also trying to incorporate Dwayne Wade back into the offense, which a lot of people that were watching that game against the Nets said that he was actually hurting them more than he was helping them. So it's not entirely out of the likelihood that the Nets would beat the Bulls. It's not likely, but it's not a complete impossibility. It just happened.
Right. And then also the Hawks play tonight.
Correct. Now,
if
Heat fans, you've got to be rooting for the Hornets tonight.
Right, because if the Hawks lose, then tomorrow night still matters for them.
Correct.
Hawks win tonight, and they lock up 4 or something?
If the Hawks win tonight, they lock up the 5 seed, and they cannot
move
out of the position, which would give them no incentive to try to beat the Pacers tomorrow night.
Right, yeah. So
let's go Hornets.
So let's go Hornets, and I think, all right, so now, theoretically speaking, would you rather be the 7 seed and get the Cavs or the 8 seed and get the Celtics? Which team? Because, all right, dude, they're 30. Well, if they win tomorrow, they'll be 30-11.
Correct.
30, and the Cavs are 12-14 since the All-Star break.
Right.
And they don't. I would rather play the Cavs than the Celtics. LeBron is LeBron, but that team just, they don't seem to have an identity. And for some reason, LeBron's teams always kind of find themselves in the playoffs. And he's, been to 6 straight finals, so he knows how to get there. But this team in particular, LeBron always gets flack for, having a 5-6 run. Like any stretch of 10 games where LeBron's under 500, everyone makes a big deal about it.
Right.
Well, this is now him going 12-14 over a large span of games to end this regular season. And so that team does look vulnerable right now. And I would love to get Heat Cavs first round, baby.
I think it would be, I differ. I'm going to go the other way. I would prefer the 8 seed in the Celtics, only because I feel as though, especially coming off of winning a championship, not having really anything to prove during the regular season, you can tell that they're not even terribly concerned about the 1 seed, which is kind of crazy, because if you look at, last night, they rested Kyrie Irving. They rested Tristan Thompson. They rested LeBron James in a game here against the Heat, which is also a little bit coincidental that LeBron James has played in 1 game since he went back to the Cavs at Miami.
Right.
Only 1, and he only played like 22 minutes because they got blown out. But it doesn't seem like they're really all that concerned about the 1 seed or the 2 seed or whatever it is. It doesn't seem to me like it matters all that much to them. And I don't believe that. I don't think that they're as bad as they've been playing, if that makes any sense. I understand that they had 10 losses in March, which is, insane, for an NBA team that's the number 1 seed in the East to lose that many games in a single month. That's pretty crazy, especially coming down towards the end of the season. But I feel like almost everybody's going to be relatively healthy. You never know if Kevin Love's back's going to act up, but I feel like that's it. If it's possible for the Cavs to be a sleeping giant.
Right. No, and it always is, especially, like I said, LeBron historically is you teams, it's cliche in sports for teams to say like, oh, you don't just turn it on.
Right.
You got to play with the mentality all the time. But it seems like LeBron can turn it on and turn it off.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? He's got the strength and the size. Like, he's LeBron. I'm not telling you about a guy you don't know about.
Right.
So it's like, yeah, that guy can just win a first round series with his eyes closed, it seems like. But if there's ever a year where I felt like someone could catch LeBron in the first round, it's this 7 seed Heat team that's 30-11 in the last 41. Granted, with a win tomorrow, 30-11.
Right.
Like, okay, think about that. Obviously, LeBron in the playoffs is always a top two seed. I don't even remember the last time he was a 3 seed.
Right.
So when was the last time he saw a 7 seed or an 8 seed on coming off a second half like this?
Never.
So that's never.
Right.
We can sit here and say that that's never happened.
If you look at the opponents, obviously when he was in Miami, the opponents that he was facing as the 1 seed or the 2 seed were teams like the Bucks limping into the playoffs. I think the Sixers limped in one year, the Nets limped in. You know what I mean? It's like it's these teams that were just sort of like they made it in because they just happened to be there towards the end, and it was like whatever.
And like I said before, in a lot of years past, we've had sub 500 teams in the playoffs.
Correct. Right.
A few, at least 2 or 3 times, LeBron has faced in the first round a sub 500 team.
Right.
So, yeah, very interesting that, we're going to have a 7 seed in the playoffs or an 8 seed that's 30-11 in the second half of the season. Could be very problematic for whoever they face.
Could be. And I would just, I think that the Celtics are a very good team, but just like I said, I think that the Cavs are not playing as bad as they are. Have we seen Isaiah Thomas really go on a dominant playoff run?
Well, no, play as well as he played this year consistently.
No.
So this is kind of like his, breakout MVP level season.
Ish.
So we'll see how it goes into the
right. And LeBron scares me more than Isaiah Thomas does, I guess was the point of that.
Oh, no, yeah, definitely.
Right.
All right, so we will go to a break and come back with everyone's favorite quick hits.
We'll be right back on the couch, just in time for you to get a cold one.
Yeah. Young APE music, baby. Holla at me, holla at me. When you see me, almost perfect and shit. Almost perfect and shit. Next to it. Look, okay. A mic ain't shit when a booth next to it. Now a booth ain't shit when a stool next to it. In the race, I got my running shoes next to it. Better cross the finish line before these haters start moving. Word of Benny Bands, that's myself, let's do it. APE, FNF music, hey, mixtape number 2, hey, baby, let's do it. Don't say my name unless I'm sitting next to it, hey. Cool breeze, last day of summer shit. Coals on the tea, switch the sweet to my upper lip. Puff a bit, pass it to my bro like bop it. And roll another up cause I don't feel like stopping. I used to change apartments with my mom around the city. And now the boys regarded as the bomb around the city. People hear my name and know the song around my city. But I never wanted favors to put on around my city. From downtown to Dania Pier, everybody recognize me cause my name spelled weird. I spend a lot of time at Rusty's, but it's stainless steel. And Shenandoah is still a must, but it's a dangerous feel. Let's go. Hip hop chatter, cafeteria blabber. After hearing them average, wanted to be a rapper. So I opened up my cape and flew. A super boy and then a great man too. And then a great man too. I came up from nothing and now I'm stunting, right? How'd I do it? I must have been doing something right. I went from hanging on the porch down First Street. It was Versace and a groupio. A couple foreign whips, I'm down to act a fool now. A copper chain and watch, my neck and wrist will cool down. Hard to be humble when all of the words you mumble turn strangers into some friends, acquaintances, into lovers. I don't know you, I don't owe you about a month. Yeah, it's gonna be a real short Grammy speech. Hand the award to the motherfucking man in me. I'm still the dopest motherfucker on the family tree. To my uncle, auntie, and my grandma, baby, rest in peace.
Okay, welcome back to the couch. The couch is brought to you by BeastDFS.com, your one-stop shop for daily fantasy analytics. The Beast DFS contains critical, valuable, and insightful information necessary when creating daily fantasy lineups in NFL and NBA. Go to BeastDFS.com and download your copy of The Beast Jr. for free today beastdfs.com. That's beastdfs.com. And now it is time for quick hits.
Quick hits.
Okay, quick hits. We're going to go over lots of things that went on in the sports world this weekend.
It's like a little round table, a little, you know what I'm saying, a little discussion. We're
Little
just
discussion.
gonna hit you with some little things and then see how you feel about them.
Okay, so this weekend was the Masters golf tournament, a tradition unlike any other.
Golf that I actually watch.
Right, the only golf that anyone watches if you don't watch all the golf.
Correct.
So the weekend started off really interesting. Dustin Johnson got on the first tee box and withdrew because sounds very fishy. There's a lot of internet stories going on. I read something that there was a fight between him. He's married to Paulina Gretzky.
Correct.
And I don't know. There's a story that there was a fight between Dustin Johnson and Wayne Gretzky that got physical at the top of the stairs.
It seems very likely
because Wayne Gretzky is PO'd that Dustin Johnson has surpassed him in career earnings. So a little alpha situation here. Wayne Gretzky's daughter has a man that's made more money than him. He's trying to take him out. You know what? Maybe your earnings would have been like $1.5 million winnings.
Yeah.
That would have got him past.
But I mean, it's a flawed strategy because unless you're stopping him from like ever playing golf again or having any sort of sponsorship money for like the remainder of his life, his career earnings are probably going to surpass yours.
Oh, yeah.
If that's the case.
All right. And then on the course, Sergio Garcia got his first major victory ever.
Right.
He's 37 years old. He's one of those guys that a lot of people thought, had the stuff to be there on Sunday, but never win it. He even said himself, like in 2007 or 2008, there's a quote from him basically after a close majors loss, all disheveled. And he said, you know what? I just don't have what it takes to win a major.
Right.
He flat out said that. Well, he had what it took. He had what it takes. He had what it took on Sunday. Showdown between him and Justin Rose. They entered the day at -6. Justin Rose had a 1-stroke lead late. Sergio eagled. This is not great radio, but basically they went into 18, tied, both parred, went into a playoff hole. Justin Rose sent his drive into the woods.
Right.
Ended up having to lay up and bogey, and Sergio wins. And it's pretty awesome. I'm happy for Sergio. Not really one of the guys I started the round rooting for, but once he was in it and he was like still in it on Saturday and still in it on Sunday, he became kind of the guy I was rooting for because, I like that. I like the guy getting his first major, especially when you're a guy like Sergio, you're late in your career, probably should have won one by now, and to get it at the Masters is pretty cool.
Okay. I mean, I can kind of agree. Like I said, I did watch, the majority of the final round on Sunday. I won't lie and said I watched any of the rest of it unless it was just casually on TV. But, I was rooting for Justin Rose. I felt a little bit happy for Sergio when he won, but he's just a person that has irked me ever since I've seen him play golf. There's a couple of things specifically like spitting in the cup and, do you remember that?
No.
Okay. So this had to have been like 10 years ago, but he bogeyed a hole where he was going to tie. It must have been a major, a major tournament or something like that. And he leaned down. It might have even been at Augusta. Leaned down, picked up the ball, and hawked a loogie into the cup. And it was on national TV.
Yeah.
And everybody was like, what the hell is this guy thinking? And then I don't know if you remember, I think it was a couple of years ago, he complained about like Tiger making noise with his bag during his back swinging or something like,
Yeah.
it was something like that. he's got a lot of incidents where he just doesn't seem like a very likable guy.
Yeah.
You know, like flicking off members of the people in the crowd,
Right.
talking about like American fans not understanding stuff. You know, he's sort of a malcontent. You know,
it takes very long to play.
So I was happy for him a little bit. It was a very, I would say, very muffled happiness.
My favorite part about the Masters is it's a very tough course to play. So the numbers are kind of low. And so all week, you know, most people were shooting like a good day was from like even to -4. If you shot even to -4, -4, -5, you had a really good day. Even, obviously, you pretty much played par.
Mm-hmm.
So -3, there was a lot of 69s this weekend.
Nice.
A lot of 69s this weekend. So that was good.
And, you know, while I think it was definitely on the back nine when Sergio started having a little bit of meltdown, maybe it was on like 13 or 14 or
when
something
he
like that.
almost went into the water, and by the mercy of God, his ball stayed up.
And then he got one stuck in the tree, and then he hit one out of bounds. Like he had a rough couple of holes there.
Yeah, and then
maybe like a rough 3 holes.
And that's when Rose got a stroke on him,
right?
And then he eagled 15 right after that.
Right. But while that was happening, I was enjoying putting some gifs on Twitter of, you know, a washing machine blowing apart from somebody throwing a brick in it, or you know, things like that. I was maybe enjoying his meltdown a little bit too much, but he turned it around. You know, I gotta eat it. Anyways, we have a little bit of Nature Boy news.
Okay.
Are you a fan of Ric Flair?
Airplane flying,
wheeling,
limousine riding, wheeling dealing,
riding.
kiss stealing, ring wearing.
Well, reports have come out of Fort Wayne, Indiana this weekend that the Nate had a little incident at a bar called the Deck at the Gas House.
The Deck at the Gas House.
Deck at the Gas House. Video surfaced of Nature Boy calling the bartender a fat ass and telling him to go ahead and lose some weight after he apparently barged in. They said that he was being extremely loud and obnoxious from the moment that he walked into the bar. The entire trip to the bar to the Deck at the Gas House lasted about 5 minutes. And after he berated the bartender, management got involved and said, listen, Nature Boy, you got to get out of here and you are never allowed back. So, pretty quick trip. Not a whole lot going on there, but, you know, it's just you hear stories about the Nature Boy just being like this crazy lunatic, like drinking with Andre the Giant, you know, taking over planes from England and going bonkers on them and having all these like lawsuits about how crazy they act and stuff. And he's like 70-something years old. He's still at it.
Hey, you know what? Ric Flair, I think, has a fitness pedigree that I feel like he can walk in somewhere and tell some guy, hey, man, shed some pounds.
I mean, I don't know what they don't have the entire exchange on camera, so I don't know exactly what happened.
Maybe it wasn't so nice. It wasn't like, hey, dude, look, you'd be a lot more healthy if you lost a couple pounds.
I don't think it was gym tips.
Yeah.
I think it was more, you know, especially when you use the word fat ass. But we also, speaking of jet flying, there is some
airplane flying.
There's been some problems with a couple of airlines.
Bad looks, bad visuals.
Extremely. Okay, so this started off. Okay, we're going to backtrack a little bit. This started off last week. Delta in Atlanta. So I actually had, you know, one of my sisters. Shout out Sarah. One of my sister's girlfriends was coming in town
Sarah.
From Atlanta to South Florida for spring break, and she ended up having her flight delayed multiple times on Wednesday, multiple times on Thursday. Finally ended up getting down here, but like so many flights, I think they said that there was 3,300 domestic flights canceled because of weather, and they just handled it really badly. Like I knew somebody that flew out of Atlanta airport, but they didn't fly Delta, so then Delta had like just recurring problem throughout the weekend. Like 33 is cumulative. That 3,300 is the cumulative of how many ended up getting canceled throughout the whole weekend. But they had a lot of problems, and so very bad customer service. Like there was a lot of people pissed off, and it seems, you know, United said, "Hey, you think that you did a bad job with customer service?
Nope. Watch this.
Hold my beer." So Sunday night, Sunday, United quickly one-upped Delta by beating up a paying customer and dragging him off a flight on multiple oversold flight from Chicago to Louisville. They asked customers on the plane already who had already boarded, we need 4 of you to get up. We need 4 of you to give up your seats. We've oversold this flight. And actually, we have 4 employees of United that need to take your spots. They offered them $400 and, a flying voucher. They upped it to $800 and a flying voucher. Apparently 3 people took the offer, got off the plane. There was 1 spot left where this gentleman said, no, I'm not going to be leaving this plane. They asked him several times. They tried to negotiate with him a little bit. The end result was they had airport officers come and drag this guy off the plane. And that's where everybody starts getting involved with their camera phones. They literally dragged him down the aisle by his arms with his shirt coming up and his stomach hanging out and his pants falling down a little bit.
Do you know why this had to be the guy to give up his seat?
So what they ended up doing was, after they asked people to volunteer to give up their seats, they said that they chose at random.
4 random
They
seats.
used a computer-generated thing. They only had to choose 1, I think.
Yeah, okay, so now I was wondering why not the last 4 people on, just like first come, first serve, but you're saying they needed the seats for United Airlines employees.
Correct.
Okay.
So nobody wanted to give up their seats, and they said, okay, well, we're gonna have a little computer-generated spit out. Tell us which ones are gonna go. And one of them said, no, I'm not going.
Okay. Now I've read about this. Someone, the old internet got a hold of who this guy was. Have you heard about this guy? He's a doctor.
Yes.
Dr. David Dow. You've heard about his past?
Yes.
Like felony past?
Yes.
Yeah, he has 98 felony drug counts for illegally prescribing and trafficking painkillers, 6 counts of obtaining drugs by fraud, and has been accused of exchanging drugs for sex. So I don't even these 2 things are completely unrelated.
Correct.
But pretty crazy story now how it's all unraveling, that this one random guy that is all over the news, people digging up past about him, and not the greatest guy in the world. So it makes it hard to have sympathy for him.
I don't know. I would say that it's a little bit irresponsible to bring up this guy's past when it has absolutely nothing to do with the fact that he got dragged out of an airplane. It doesn't nullify his past, but it doesn't have anything to do with it. It
kind of just nails down, like, you can see, like, okay, yeah, like this guy was not going to be the guy to lay down to anyone.
Yeah, but I mean, say the scenario was similar, and and I don't know if he knew this or not, or whether he was just being stubborn or not, but say you're on a plane, you've already boarded, they've already taken your boarding pass and you've already sat down and stowed your luggage, and then they come up to you and say, hey, guess what? We need 4 spots because we have somehow messed up. We need 4 spots for our employees to take your spot. Is that okay with you?
Okay, but now let's get back to, did you say that they offered them
I believe the
flying vouchers, and the 800 was cash money?
Well, it probably I don't think they were going to hand them $800 bills. Probably a check for $800 and.
Well, yeah, voucher. But I mean, but it's not like $800 in credits towards flights.
I believe it was an $800 voucher or $800 and a flight voucher.
Right. So, yeah, I would probably be a reasonable person and say, yeah, I'll take $800 and a voucher and catch the next flight out of here.
If you have a graduation for a family member that night.
That's all theoretical. And yeah, maybe this guy was on his way to his mom's funeral. Who knows?
It's not theoretical. What his claim is that he had a patient that he needed to see. He is a doctor.
Oh,
said that he needed to see him the very next morning.
Yeah, that he's also a doctor, on major restrictions. He can only practice at an outpatient facility 1 day a week.
Okay, well, maybe that was the day. Yeah. I'm just saying, I understand how his past makes it sympathetic for people, or how it makes it difficult for people to sympathize with him. But if you treat me this way, United Air, and I think the majority of the world, the majority of the general public, at least on Twitter and in the United States, sort of, agrees that that's not the way that you should be handling things. There's probably 10 to 15 different scenarios where you didn't have to physically drag this guy off the plane and beat him up. And he actually, they said that he somehow managed to get away from them and sneak back on the plane. And that's where the video came from. I don't know if you saw, there was one where he was like hanging on to like a curtain in the middle, in between like first class and coach. And he was like, he's standing there and somebody's videotaping him. He's got like blood running from his face. And he's saying, like,
I saw
kill
that
me or something
picture.
like that,
I saw that picture of the blood from his mouth.
But then you also have the United CEO or whoever it was that made the statement, said everybody behaved according to him, everybody within United behaved the way that they should have, and they did nothing wrong.
Yeah, and his like tweet was worded like, sorry for the inconvenience, we had to reaccommodate our guests.
Right.
And it's like, oh, okay. Reaccommodate, aka drag by limb.
Right. So all I'm saying is that there was a different way to handle it. I'm not sure if it's entirely responsible for people to be digging up this guy's past. I mean, if it's Freedom of Information Act and everybody has the right to know it, then that's fine. I don't necessarily agree with it, but that's neither here nor there. Also, I think since this happened yesterday, or since it came out yesterday, I believe United stock has dropped $4, which equates, if you actualize the loss, something like 880 million.
Oh, wow. Yeah, but that's
its initial reaction. It's going to bounce back.
Yeah,
and that's the thing. And so, like, the thing is that, like, what are you going to do? You know, you're just going to protest United forever? What if they fly somewhere where you have to fly United?
Right.
You got no choice.
Yeah. And, I don't know. Dude, things like that happen. Like, don't be a dick. This guy, I don't know. He got on the plane. Yeah, it's United's fault, but like, dude, it's a bad look for United. Maybe my stance right now is more swayed by the fact that this guy is kind of just a crooked doctor, and I don't really care about what happened to him now. But if he was a straight and narrow citizen, maybe I'd feel a little worse. But also, yeah, it's just like sometimes in life, you got to give up your seat. Like, I don't know. Yeah. And it's not like they asked him to just give up his seat. They were offering, money for it or whatever, voucher. You know what, dude? Take the voucher and use that to fly. Go to, I don't know what it'd be worth, but if it's a blank check, I'd use it to fly to Europe or something.
I know, and that's fine. All I'm saying is that you can't say what someone else's sensibilities are or what their priorities may be. You don't know what it is that I'm doing or what is important to me. Like, maybe it's not the $800. Maybe it's the fact that I want to go and see my patient. Or if it's me, maybe it's something that, I have a plan that there's something that I have to do on the night that I'm supposed to be getting here, and there's no more flights. I can't wait till the morning.
Right. And I get that. Most of the time when you're flying, it's for a purpose.
Right.
So,
who knows? But this is all going to play out, over the course of however long it goes. I'm sure that this guy's going to get dragged. United's going to get dragged. United's already been being dragged on Twitter with, all of the jokes and everything that's been happening in the last couple of days. But it's not over. I'm sure that it's not over. We'll see how it all plays out.
Moving on. Deion Jordan was signed by the Seahawks today. I don't know if that means anything. He couldn't get his ish together in Miami. Now, Seahawks are kind of that organization that seems kind of at least defensively stable. Maybe they'll find a role for him.
Do you know anything about the the contract particulars?
No. I can't imagine.
I would assume it's on the super cheap.
Yeah, it's probably not a lot guaranteed.
Right. I thought he was a pretty good prospect. I thought it was entirely asinine for the Dolphins to move up to where they did to draft him.
As much as they gave up to move up that high. But yeah.
Maybe going back to Oregon.
I mean, you just never know. Like, you really don't. Like, he didn't play any football. He was always suspended.
Right.
For weed.
Right. And then I believe the reason, not just the reason, but the reason why they were able to waive him or whatever is he didn't pass his physical for the Dolphins.
Right.
So maybe Oregon will be a nice change of scenery, go back to where he, around the area where he played college ball. I don't know exactly where he's from. Maybe he's from there. I don't know. But I think it'll probably, who knows? We'll see. Seattle's usually good about that kind of thing, signing people on the cheap and getting good stuff out of them.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So we'll go to break. We'll come back with some segments and we'll click around a few other things.
Les Grossman.
We don't get money yet. Price now 100 million. You pay now or tomorrow Simple Jack die.
Great. Let me get this down. 100 million. Oh, wait. I got a better idea.
Stay tuned to The Couch on 247miami.tv.
Instead of 100 million, how about I send you a hobo's cheese? Then you kill him, do your thing, skin the Go to town, man. Go to town.
No.
In the meantime, and as usual, go yourself.
Welcome back to The Couch on 24/7 Miami.
All right, welcome back to The Couch. The Couch is presented by Now Trending, News with a Twist. It's another show on 24/7 Miami. It is every Monday from 4 p.m. Now Trending 247 on Twitter. That's Now Trending. And now we go to one of my favorites, Simple Jack.
Knows you never go full retard.
Goodbye, Mama. Now you can have ice cream in heaven. I'll see you tonight when I go to bed in my head movies. But this head movie makes my eyes rain.
You went full retard, man. Never go full retard.
That is correct, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to all of the female spring breakers' favorite segment. This week's Simple Jack comes to us courtesy of the Pensacola News Journal. You're familiar with that area, aren't you?
Oh
A
yeah,
little bit.
The old pen.
The old Pensacola. This is out of a
Cola?
place called Pace, Florida,
Okay.
right by Pensacola. A man has been arrested on a multitude of charges this week after stealing his roommate's old sheriff's office uniform and attempting to demand drugs from local pharmacies. Authorities say the man went to a Target nearby in Pace, dressed as a Santa Rosa County Sheriff's Office deputy, and flashed his roommate's old badge to a pharmacy employee and demanded Suboxone. The request was promptly denied. So the suspect decided that he was going to steal a pair of pants and a soda and flee the scene. He next went to a nearby Publix where he again approached the pharmacy attempting to acquire narcotics. Witnesses, that was a unsuccessful attempt. They
Right.
told him to get out of there.
Right.
I suppose that's a sort of an odd request for a cop to just ask for drugs from
Right.
a pharmacy.
Give them to me.
Yeah. Witnesses took down the license plate and the police were called. They tracked the vehicle, which also belonged to the suspect's roommate, to the residence where the man was found in possession of crack cocaine, marijuana, Suboxone, baclofen, spoons, and other various drug paraphernalia. The suspect was charged with impersonating an officer, grand theft of a firearm, possession of a controlled substance, possession of a weapon by a felon, possession of drug paraphernalia, possession of a new legend drug, theft, driving without a license, possession of marijuana, and escaping. Oh, I forgot. When they arrested him, he faked the seizure and was brought to the hospital where he promptly tried to escape.
That sounds like the side effects. Reading off his charges is like the side effects to
I
some
know.
new drug. I wonder if his roommate is still a cop. Why is that cop living with that guy?
I don't know. He's a former cop. He's not a sheriff's deputy anymore.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense.
So, but I guess he had the old uniform just for
The old
kicks,
uniform, the old badge, yeah.
bring it out every once in a while, do a little role playing.
Hey, you know what? If you're a pharmacist and a cop asks you for drugs, you give it. He's here to protect and serve. If a cop asks you for drugs, you got to give it to him.
Hey, give me some drugs.
And then figure it out later. Find out, but it could be an emergency.
It could be.
It could be an emergency.
This is Officer Adkins, and I'm going to need all the opiates you got back there, please. Thank you.
It's an emergency.
Here's my badge. If that's not enough,
Okay.
call somebody.
All right. So, also, just what's up with him? Just like, you know what? Before I leave here, let me grab a pair of sweats and a Coke.
Yeah, I mean, he was like, whatever. I've done something wrong. I may as well just grab some pants.
That's funny.
Whatever.
Okay. So now we're gonna do another segment. Even though LW is not here, we're gonna do Dubby Knows It All, and it'll be your boy. And all right, let's do that. Dubby Dubai knows it all.
Well, Dick, here's the deal. I'm the best there is, plain and simple. I mean, I wake up in the morning, I piss excellence.
Hoo-ha! Do you know who I am? I don't know how to put this, but I'm kind of a big deal.
That was stupid. Was it?
Okay, so since we just got done with the Masters, I'm a huge golf guy. So my little random facts, knowing it all, are Masters based. Okay, so the first one, start off with something easy. Did you know that the green jacket is not allowed off the property of Augusta once you win the green jacket in the Masters, you have a year with it. So like right now, Sergio's wearing his green jacket all over Times Square. He's in New York right now. He's doing the whole car wash at the stock exchange. He's probably gonna end up on Sports Center. Right. He's doing all that. But after 1 year, he has to return that jacket to Augusta, and then those green jackets, you can only wear them on the property of Augusta. And I've learned this because did you hear the story about how a green jacket was found in a thrift shop?
I did.
And then auctioned off for $116,000.
Yes.
Well, my first thought on that was like, how does a green jacket end up in a thrift shop? Because there's no way a golfer would ever
give up his green
lose
jacket.
track of that green jacket.
But
then also I found out every member of Augusta has a green jacket. So, and I don't know if they're also not supposed to take the green jacket out of the property,
right.
But I imagine the green jacket that was found in a thrift shop was the green jacket of an Augusta National
club member, not a
champion of the Masters tournament.
I was going to say, you'd think they might be able to track that down if it was a winner. Like, hey, one of these 80 is missing.
Yeah. One of you 60 guys that have ever won a Masters, are you missing your green jacket?
Right.
So after a year, after you win the Masters, you wear your green jacket, but after a year, you got to bring it back, and you can only wear that green jacket on the property of Augusta. My next fact is very interesting. Had no idea about this. So there's a guy named Jeff Knox who is also a member of Augusta. And every year during the Masters, if an odd number of players make the cut going into Saturday, Augusta calls on this guy, Jeff, a golfer, because when there's an odd number of players, they don't want a guy playing alone.
Out there by himself.
Playing alone.
Right.
So this guy, Jeff Knox, living every golfer's dream. First off, he's already a member of Augusta, so he's already living the dream, the golf dream. But this guy has played 18 rounds of the Masters over the course of I don't know how many years. I can imagine, every year that there's an odd number of guys that make the cut,
right?
I'd imagine he plays Saturday and Sunday because it's the same number of guys on Saturday and Sunday. So he's played 18 rounds at the Masters. And there's a story that they say, so he's not a competitor. He's not competing in the event. So he officially doesn't keep score, but unofficially he beat Rory McIlroy in 2014 in the round that they played together.
Nice.
So the guy's a pretty good golfer, and it's just a really cool story. He's played rounds with Bubba Watson. He's played rounds with Jason Day, Rory, Larry Mize, who's a Masters champion. So guys really kind of just living the golfer's dream. Like, can you imagine? Oh my God, Augusta calls, hey Jeff, we got an odd number this year. Want to come play the Masters?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I'll drop everything I'm doing. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So that was Dubby Knows It All. For the rest of the show, we got about 6 minutes here. We're going to kick a few more things around for me.
Yeah. So there was something that came out today, which is a little bit, I wanted to just maybe ask what your opinion was on this. This is regarding Steph Curry. Back to the NBA for a little bit. So Marcus Thompson is the author of a new book, which has not been released yet, but it's about Curry's rise to, NBA superstardom, whatever it is that you want to, MVP last year, yada, yada,
Two-time
yada.
MVP.
Two-time MVP. It's basically about Steph Curry's meteoric rise. But in the book, he says that Steph's sudden popularity has caused some disdain among his peers. And he actually names 3 people specifically: LeBron James, Chris Paul, and Russell Westbrook as 3 people who had a problem with it. He was actually, and this is a quote this is Marcus Thompson saying this. This is not a quote from Chris Paul himself, but he sort of says Chris Paul was somebody that Steph used to look up to. He was supposed to be next in line to win a championship, and then suddenly it was Steph Curry. I mean, next in line to win a championship.
Yeah, you're not like
According to who?
You don't get to be the like you're the next one to win. Like, here, it's yours now because you're next.
Right.
Like, you don't get to be the next one in line.
And, that strikes me as like sort of an odd quotation from him, because that's, what is this? Like the NBA is like wrestling, like where, it's my turn to be the champion now.
Yeah.
I've served my dues or whatever. I think that there is maybe a little bit something to be said with how quickly Steph Curry sort of came from Davidson to, he spent probably 4 years with the Warriors where they were just sort of meddling.
I was gonna say I don't even agree with the notion that it all happened so fast.
Well, no, it's not that it all happened so fast. It's that it went from a sort of meddling team with not that great of numbers and sort of bum ankles for the first 4 years of his career to all of a sudden he's shooting 300 3-pointers in the last 3 consecutive seasons, which nobody's ever done, period. And, playing in the Western Conference Finals, which were thought to have been going to be, the Spurs basically running away with it, Spurs and the Thunder.
Right. Well, it was a lot of things happened perfect for the Golden State. They had Steph Curry very cheap because of the ankle injuries.
Correct.
And then, they hit in their draft on Klay Thompson. They hit in their draft on Draymond Green.
Correct.
Also, Sean Livingston, his career resurgence, he's been their backup point guard. He's been great. That whole team, it wasn't just like Steph Curry all of a sudden became LeBron and put a whole team on his back.
Right.
A lot of things happened there, but I mean, I don't know. I don't see what gripe they could have. It wasn't even that meteoric where it all happened so fast.
And do you think that these people, do you think that like LeBron and Chris Paul and Russell Westbrook actually said these things 100%? Or do you think this might be a little bit of like book selling?
A little book selling. Yeah. Maybe along the lines, but maybe he's stretching the truth.
I think that's the sort of gist that I get. I don't strike LeBron as being like, I don't like Steph Curry because of how quickly he came.
I hate Steph Curry because he wins. Like, no,
right.
That's not how it is.
All
right, you've been listening to The Couch. It's every Tuesday. Check out our YouTube. Check out our Instagram at @thecouch_radio and @thecouch_Miami.
On Twitter. Check us next week.
All right. Peace.